Hi guys, how's it going? Quick video because we've got no fireplace this week. Wanted to show you this little sign in my bedroom. I don't know if you can read it. It says faith can move mountains, and I just love that. It's one of my favourite statements, and there's a verse in the Bible that talks about the fact that faith can move mountains. I just find that so inspiring. But anyway, I was also thinking about this passage, this little verse from the Gospel of Matthew, which I'd love to share with you, and why it's super challenging but also inspiring. And then there's a video clip which acts this out, which is probably, I don't know, the most inspiring little bit. Every time I see it, I get completely messed up inside and inspired at the same time. So the verse is from Matthew chapter 9. If you want to read it, it's a great idea. Matthew chapter 9, verse 9. It's literally just one verse, and it's the calling of Matthew. You know, the Gospel of Matthew in the Bible was written by Matthew, and this verse is the calling of that guy. So the man who wrote that Gospel is talking about the time when he was called, when Jesus called him to follow him, literally. I don't mean some vague calling. He literally called him. You know, I don't know what the situation was. It was out on the street or whatever. And he was a tax collector, so he was hated, this guy Matthew. And Jesus literally calls him whilst he's taking the taxes off the people, and says, "Come follow me." And it just simply says, as Jesus went on from there, he saw a man named Matthew sitting at the tax collector's booth. "Follow me," he told him. And Matthew got up and followed him. What I love about it is the simplicity of Matthew's response. Jesus said, "Follow me." Matthew got up and followed him. And you know, as much as we like to complicate things and make things sound really difficult and complex, and is this happening, isn't this happening, do we understand this? Do you know there's a simple response to Jesus, which is get up and follow him. It's possible to do that, you know, and often the things we think are blockages, they may be real in our minds, they may feel incredibly big and incredibly difficult and like mountains, but actually they're not necessarily actually real physically. They don't actually prevent us from getting up and following Jesus. I mean, we don't know what Matthew left behind when he actually chose to follow Jesus. We assume he left behind his career. He would have had a lot of favour amongst the Romans and a lot of money, but not a lot of favour amongst the Jews. So it would have cost him a lot to walk away from his career, from his lifestyle, just like that. But when you hear Jesus calling you, that's the response you want to give. And the question for us, and maybe the challenge and the inspiration, is when you hear Jesus calling, when you hear him saying something like, "Follow me," are you going to get up and do it? Whether it's to follow him for the first time in your life and actually say, "I want to make Jesus the person I follow through my decisions," or whether it's in a small part of your life having already said yes to him. It might be to do with something you're struggling with in your life. It might be something that you want to follow someone who knows more than you in a certain area. And in that area, what's Jesus saying? And as he's calling you, as he's saying, "Get up and follow me," are you going to just do it? And we're designed to follow Jesus. That every human has within them the desire and the ability just to do it. You know, because it's the best thing, it's what we're designed for. And at the moment it feels scary and overwhelming, but when we take that step, it's like the rest of life begins to make sense. But at the moment that we hear him calling us, in whatever way that may be, in our heart, it may be through someone else, it can feel like, how can I possibly do this? This doesn't make sense. I can't. But once we take the step on the other side of our little tiny action, getting up and following, saying yes, and walking away from where we were, life starts to make sense and joy comes. and purpose comes, and wisdom comes. And if you look at the rest of what Matthew did after this point, it's incredible. He ends up following Jesus. He gets trained by Jesus. His life has changed. He has a whole new purpose. So I'd really encourage you just to read that one verse. It's so amazing. And then go to this link that I've put in the description. And it's this clip. It's this basically this verse dramatized in the series The Chosen. Some of you might have seen it. It's my favourite scene from, probably I've watched the whole thing, but this is probably my favourite scene. And it's this moment where Jesus calls Matthew, and it's so powerful. I'd love you to watch it. It's 2 or 3 minutes. Watch it and see what stirs in your heart. Love you guys. Bless you. See you soon.